Hello? Hello? Good morning, Plymouth North. We have gathered here to celebrate and acknowledge and thank all of the veterans who have courageously and selflessly served our country. Please join us with the rest of the Student Council in welcoming veterans with a round of applause. Now can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now can we remain standing as one of our Plymouth North a cappella groups, Northern Lights, performs the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. First, we'd like to thank Northern Lights for that great performance. Thank you for doing that. With Veterans Day being tomorrow, and today being the 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, we have come together to honor all of our veterans, including the men and women who are joining us today. This assembly is a small token of our appreciation and recognition of the sacrifices that veterans have made for our country. Every day, people go out and sacrifice their lives in order to keep us safe. We often take that for granted. All of these soldiers do and have done that for us. We look up to these people as men and women that make this country the land of the free. You've inspired us all to be selfless members of our community and make this world the best it can be. Thank you for everything that you have done for our country. In honor of all of our veterans, the Plymouth North Band will play Armed Forces Salute. The band will be playing songs that represent the 5 branches of our military. We encourage veterans to stand when the band plays your branch's song, but this is not mandatory. Thank you to the Plymouth North Band. We would now like to invite students Mark McKay, Lanigan Greeley, Jacob Carpenter, Josh Bates, Ryan Liberatore, Jonathan Nero, Tommy O'Connell, and Nick Paolini from Miss McWhirter's senior elective Literature of War class to read the poem We Honor You Today by Susan S. Smith.
Thank you, DC. This is We Honor You Today by Susan R. Smith. To all of our veterans far and near, we thank you for your service for all those years.
You sacrificed your time, and some gave your life. You preserved our freedom by willingly paying the price.
Many of you were sent overseas. You were wounded in battle with scars and disease.
But courageous and brave, you weathered the storm. You faced every battle with faith and beyond.
We honor you with joy for all that you've done. You stood strong for our country, for our daughters and sons.
So no one stands alone. We walk hand in hand. Remember, we are with you. Together we shall stand.
We salute you today. Hear what we say. Let our words speak eloquently in a special way.
On this day, let us express our love and thanks for the sacrifice you paid. You served in honor for many years and days, and we will never forget how you were strong and brave. Thank you for your service.
Thank you to Miss McWhirter's class. We'd now like to acknowledge some of the veterans that are attending our assembly today. We have veterans that served in wars in Afghanistan, the wars in Iraq, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and even World War II. At this time, we'd like to acknowledge all World War II veterans. In addition, we would like to acknowledge Frederick Wees and his wife, Nancy, who is in attendance today. He served in the Army from 1964 to 1969. He grew up in Chatham and lived in Plymouth for the past 11 years. He attended last year and passed away February of this year. According to his wife, he was deeply moved by last year and the outpouring of appreciation that this school community showed towards all veterans. We will always be touched by these kind words for students at Plymouth North High School, and be reminded that our brief tribute of appreciation towards veterans pales in comparison to the sacrifice that they have made for us. Thank you, Frederick, for your service. For those who do not know, Veterans Day was born from the signing of the armistice on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, ending World War I. Today, Veterans Day, is a day we can express our gratitude and thanks to all veterans. To help express thanks, Plymouth North Student Council has created a small video featuring student and staff from Plymouth North High School. After the video, the Plymouth North Orchestra will perform Danny Boy.
In the days leading up to the Veterans Day Assembly, we asked Plymouth North students and staff to share their thoughts on the holiday.
We asked them why Veterans Day is so important and if they had any of their own veterans to thank.
Hey, a great shout out to all the veterans out there for all the things they do. We all appreciate you. I appreciate you for all that you do. Keep doing what you do, and thank you for the people who've already served.
Thank you for your service.
Veterans Day is a special day. It's a day that we want to honor all our veterans. Personally, I want to make a little special shout out to Everett Lamb, and I hope he's here with us today. He's a World War II veteran, grew from Plymouth, growing up as a little boy in the downtown area in Plymouth, in my neighborhood. I got to know Mr. Lamon very well, and then later on learned about his time in World War II on the USS Bunker Hill.
Thank you for your service.
A veteran I'd like to thank is my dad. He served in the Army, and he's a great man. So thank you, Dad. Appreciate it.
I'd like to thank everyone for their service, including my husband, who is full-time Army National Guard, ironically in the marketing department, and also everyone in-house, including our very own Mr. South. Thank you for your service. We love you.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for all the guys that I served with, and you know, some of them didn't come back, and heart goes out to their families, and yeah, it's a pretty good thing actually. I think personally everybody should look into it and do it maybe for a couple of years.
I want to thank my grandpa for his service.
Thanks to my grandfather for protecting our country.
I know quite a few veterans, but I'd like to just, at the risk of leaving anybody out, I'd like to just thank all veterans for everything they've ever done, both in service and after the service for our country, and it's a wonderful day to celebrate them.
Happy Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans that served our country.
Thank you, veterans.
Thank you, veterans.
I want to thank my cousin for serving for our country.
Thank you to our very own veteran, Mr. Kaplan.
My wife is a retired lieutenant colonel, and I'm an E4, which is basically nothing. But we have an affinity for our veterans, and I don't think our veterans are treated well enough in the United States of America. They give their lives and limbs for us, and we don't give them enough back. So today's a special day. Wake up, America. Take care of your veterans, and take care of each other. Thank you.
We love our veterans.
Thank you. We would now like to take a moment to acknowledge the veterans we have in our school community on our staff. First, Mr. Dave South, Mr. Evan McNamara, and Mr. Len Kaplan. Thank you for your service and for all you do for us as students. We would now like to invite Mr. Kelly up to the stage to introduce our speaker today. Mr. Kelly has been a fixture at Plymouth North for over 30 years as a fan, volunteer, coach, and also is a Navy veteran serving in the Navy from 1961 to 1964. Please give a nice round of applause to Plymouth North legend, Mr. Kelly.
Good morning. How many softball players out there? First of all, we got to do this. I have to do it. I don't like to do it, but I have to do it. Happy birthday to the Marine Corps. I'm here to speak about my cousin Tommy, sitting right down here. We grew up together in South Boston. Nobody else, I guess. So anyway, this is a short story about Tommy before he comes up. Tommy is a long-standing committed to the service of his country, to his community, and to fellow veterans. Tommy was Vice President in External Affairs before he retired in November of 2018. After 16 years of service with Mass Housing and State Affordable Housing Bank, from then, in 1995 to 2002, he was the Executive Director of the New England Shelter for Homeless Veterans. He served as Deputy Commissioner of the Veterans Services for the City of Boston from 84 to 95. Tommy was born in South Boston, a graduate from South Boston High School in '67. Served in the United States Marine Corps from 1967 to 1970, and was decorated combat veteran with tour of duty from '68 to '69 in Vietnam. We thank you for that, Tommy. In 1978, Tommy organized a committee of veterans to pay tribute to those in the community who died during the Vietnam War. On September 13, 1981, the committee erected the South Boston Veterans Memorial, which was one of the first of its kind in the nation. I got to stop here for a second. South Boston, for some reason, the Korean War, they had multiple loss of life. This is in the South Boston community, and the same with the Vietnam War. The fighting Irish, I guess they just got to do it. But anyways, Tommy was in charge of all that, and it's the first one in the nation. Let me see here now. He also, in 1987, he founded the Semper Fidelis Society of Boston, a Marine Corps organization that has grown to be more than 2,500 members. The society sponsors an annual luncheon on the Marine Corps birthday and donates the proceeds to the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation and the local veterans charities. He is also the starter of the annual Boston Marine Corps Honor Run, which raises money for Marine Corps scholarships and foundations. Tommy graduated from Boston State College, completed his senior executive fellow program at Harvard University Kennedy School of Government. He was honored by the University of Massachusetts of Boston with the Robert H. Quinn Award for Outstanding Community Leadership, the recipient of the 2011 Marine for Life, the award, and presented in 2012 the 30 years of advocate for the Marines and nation's veterans in the foundation. I was recipient of the Commander Award for the Marine Scholarship Foundation in 1916 and the John W. McCormick Public Service Award. Tommy served as a member of the board and committee. He is the chairman of the South Boston Veterans Memorial Committee, chair of the Governor's Veterans Advisory Committee Council, chair Boston Trustees for the Chelsea Soldiers Home, and directed the Marine Society Convention for the Boston honoring the National Medal of Honor recipients. And he also helped with the Addiction to Treatment Center for New England. Tommy lives in Wakefield, Massachusetts, and him and his wife, Jean, and their two daughters, Sarah and Mara, and his son, Todd, a federal agent, immigration customs enforcer, better known as ICE, and a combat veteran of the Iraq War himself. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my cousin, who I'm very proud of, Tommy Lyons.
Thank you, Jim. Superintendent Campbell, Principal Parcellin, fellow veterans, teachers, students, family, and friends, thank you for having me here today. I am truly honored and humbled to have an opportunity to speak with you today. And I do have to say, I wish every high school in Massachusetts would look at Veterans Day and conduct a ceremony like you folks here at Plymouth North have. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with what I've been part of so far. So thank you for that. Veterans Day is a special day that honors all those who have served and are serving in the United States Armed Forces. Allow me to give a brief history of Veterans Day. World War I was fought by many countries for 5 years, beginning in 1914 and ending in 1918. The United States fought in this war from 1917 to 1918. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the warring countries signed an agreement called an armistice that brought the war to an end. On that day, throughout the world, people celebrated and prayed because the war was over and their loved ones would be coming home. People around the world at that time very wishfully thought that there would be no more wars. In fact, World War I was called the war to end all wars. President Wilson made November 11th, 1938, a federal holiday, calling it Armistice Day to honor all those who served and died in World War I. In the aftermath of World War II in Korea, Armistice Day became known as Veterans Day. We honor veterans today because we know that without them, there would be no land of the free. Without the veterans of the American Revolution, there would not even be a United States of America. Without the veterans of the Civil War who fought on either side for what they believed in, the strong, united America we have today might never have been possible. Without the veterans of World War II, we might be living in a country, in a world, where freedom of choice or the right to vote no longer exist. Without those currently fighting the war on terror, we could be living in constant fear and simply without our freedom. All of our veterans have protected our democracy, our freedom, our way of life, and today we honor and thank them. As I reflect on what being a veteran means to me, I'm filled with a sense of great pride, and I'm thankful for the men and women that came before me, those that came after me, and those still serving today. This gratitude extends not only to my fellow veterans, but also to the friends and family who sacrificed, endured, and patiently waited while their loved ones served. I'm proud of the fact that I'm one of so many that answered our country's call during the Vietnam War. I have worked in the veterans community for over 40 years, helping veterans get the service and programs they have earned. And this new generation of veterans is no different. They need our support more than ever. As Jim said, I was born in South Boston, joined the Marine Corps in '67 with 5 friends, went to Vietnam in '68. 3 of those friends were killed. And 10 years later, I organized a breakfast and wanted to remember our friends, because back then, it wasn't fashionable to be a Vietnam veteran. It wasn't fashionable to build memorials to Vietnam veterans. And it was left to the Vietnam veterans themselves to let our community and let this country know that we were proud of our service. We were honored to serve our country, and we would never apologize for that service, like some of us, or like some people thought we should. And from that breakfast, I found out that there were 22 other men from South Boston who were killed in Vietnam, for a total of 25. And so we built that memorial, and we dedicated it. And I never say we were first. I just say we were unique. What made us unique was not only do we have the names of the 25 young men on that memorial, and at the base of the memorial it read, "If you forget my death, then I died in vain." It's the back of the memorial that I am extremely proud of too. Because on the back note, not only do we have the insignias of all the branches of the service, we have written across that stone, "To all the men and women who served during the Vietnam War," and then in big letters, "Welcome home." And why I'm proud of that is because back then, we were recognizing the women who were serving, but also we were recognizing all those who served during that time frame, who, because of circumstances, maybe didn't make their way to Vietnam. But they needed to be thanked and recognized for that service. And for that, I think, is what makes that memorial so unique back in 1981. One of the lessons learned from, actually 2 lessons learned from the Vietnam War was how we welcomed the veterans who came home. In many cases, how we sent those veterans off. We are doing better today because it was the lessons learned from Vietnam, not only welcoming our veterans home, but supporting them while they are in service. We're doing okay, but we must and can do better. When people say, "Thank you for your service" to a veteran, the words are always appreciated, but those words carry with it a promise. It's a promise, those words that say thank you, the promise that the word thank you is not hollow, but instead reflects a respect for that service, which is backed up by the need of programs and services. Even now, in time of tenuous and uncertain peace, knowing the risk and sacrifice they will face, young men and women continue to say yes to undertaking the duty of service and sacrifice to our country. Beyond defending the homeland, what they seek when they go to recruiting office is no different than what generations before them sought: an opportunity. On this particular Veterans Day, when armed conflict has ceased, at least for the time being, we have the opportunity, or should I say the obligation, to truly consider the support we provide our veterans. In my previous roles, helping to create affordable housing for veterans, as Executive Director at the New England Shelter of Homeless Veterans, I have both seen and been disappointed to realize that veterans, in far too many cases, must still struggle to realize the benefits they have earned. Now, in the absence of conflict, we have both the opportunity and obligation to make sure that the men and women who step forward, aware of the risk and sacrifice they may face, are more than remembered or thanked for their service. They deserve full measure of opportunity we promise them, the chance to fulfill a dream in service to our country, and in the process, help change their life for better. A quote from our very first president: "The willingness with which young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation. Very powerful words. I want to leave with some ideas that you may think about as we go into Veterans Day tomorrow. Certainly an event like this starts Veterans Day off on a high note. But also there's an opportunity to attend a Veterans Day event. Ask a veteran to share his or her story. Call a family member who is a veteran. Write your appreciation of veterans using your Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Things I have no idea what they do, but I'm not even on Facebook. But really, it's a great way of being able to tell someone how much they are appreciated. I will close with a quote that I think really sums up today and really sums up tomorrow. Poor is the nation that has no heroes. Shameful is the nation that has them and forgets. To my fellow veterans, to the students at Plymouth North High School today, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for remembering our veterans and truly appreciate what you have put together today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lyons, for that amazing speech. I'd now like to invite Mr. Parsland to the stage to call on any seniors who have already enlisted or are considering going into the armed forces.
Thank you so much for your message. I think that is perfectly appropriate for our students. Before we do this, I think it's important to take a second and reflect, right? Tomorrow is Veterans Day. It is not today. And the message you just heard is tomorrow, reflect on why we're out of school. Go ahead and sleep in a little bit. Go ahead and enjoy your day, but also remember why it is that we're home. I think I mentioned this before, but and for those of you who know me, my dad was a veteran of the Gulf War, and I lived on military bases and Navy bases when I was a kid. And what I know of veterans personally, my brother was in the Air Force as well, is that it's really easy to walk around this beautiful school in this spectacular town and know a bunch of people who have served and think that you are lucky, right? And I know I walk through this building every day and I think about how lucky I am to work here and to work in this town and to work with these kids who do this. It's not an accident that we're lucky. The reason that we have this beautiful school and the reason that we have the opportunity to have these visitors today is a lot of hard work. And what I know about my dad, and I suspect is the same about all these people that are sitting up in front today, is that they are people who sat in seats just like you today and decided in a very ordinary situation to do something extraordinary. And just like my dad, like he, went to typical public high school, he moved on to college and decided to make a personal sacrifice. That he was away from his family, he was away from what he knew, and put himself through a lot of struggle and strife because it was something greater than himself. And so I know tomorrow, like I will reflect and reach out to my dad and my brother, and it will not be a hello, thank you. And I hope that everybody in this room realizes that the benefits that we get, we live a really comfortable life in this town. We have a beautiful high school. We get a lot of stuff. And I think it's really important to reflect on why we have that stuff. And some of the reason, and a large part of the reason that we live the comfortable, lucky life that we have is because these people in our town decided to step up and do something difficult, more difficult than I've ever experienced, and put themselves in harm's way for us. And that is why we're celebrating veterans today. So I would love, and I'm going to take this out of here. Let's hear for D.C. Brown, who's done a great job up here. Let's hear for the band and Miss Holmes, who've done a great job up here. Let's hear for Mr. Hales and Miss Ward and the student council, Mr. Tossi and Mr. Clark, who put this all together, Mr. Grossman, who had the a cappella up here. Can I just get one huge, rousing round of applause for these veterans up here who have done a great job? Thank you. We are lucky to have these people as members of our town. So the next step, and I also wanted, Miss McWhirter's class coming up here and putting that poem together and reading that in front of everybody. Thank you for doing that. So the charge, right, is that we have people who have stepped up and sacrificed, and we're honoring that today. But the charge that you should walk out of this auditorium with is, how are you going to try and challenge yourself to take on that mantle, right? Because there are going to be threats. There are going to be challenges, and how are we going to meet that? And so what I'd love to do is I'd love to have the veterans come up in front, and I'd love to have any senior who is planning on joining the military to come on up with us and meet these people and connect these generations of this town that are doing pretty amazing things. So at this point, if we could have the veterans come on up, and you can just stand in front, and any senior that is planning to join the military, if you could come on down. Let's hear it for them. That is no small step. Come on up front if you guys want to sit up front. And I think maybe got a picture of the generations of this stuff. Listen, this sacrifice that these kids are going to make and that these veterans have made are making our lives better every minute of every day. So let's give a huge round of applause for these kids and for these veterans. Proud to be able to live in a community with these veterans who have stepped up and made this sacrifice. So thank you so much. We are going to, am I sending them, Mr. Hales, what do you want me to do? We're going to, okay, so the library's closed during K-Block because we're going to have a reception for them because we're going to keep them here and have a nice time. We are going to send all of the juniors and seniors back into second period at this point, so you guys can head out. The kids up front can hang out and introduce themselves. You guys can head back to second period, and we will go from K-Block. The library's closed during K-Block, so make do without it. Thank you, guys.